Hello students, Mr. Kid here, how are you? We have yet another video coming up, and this time we're going to be talking about inferencing. Inferencing is a very important reading skill, and it's actually something that you do all the time. We use this skill called inference when we look at the world around us, when we're reading, watching movies. So, we're going to be looking at it as a reading skill, so I'm going to jump into a little bit of an instruction, pay attention, and here we go.
Alright, so as I mentioned before, we're talking about inference and understanding. Alright, so we actually do this all the time. This is part of our a natural way that our brain makes sense of the world around us, is we use our previously developed knowledge to understand what is going on around us and what we see and what we read. And from that understanding, we then can make conclusions. So let's go through a few activities, and so you have a better idea on what I'm talking about when it comes to inference. Okay, here we go. So first, what I would like you to do is look at this picture. Now, if you're looking or watching this video on a phone or an iPad, it might be kind of hard, and I'm going to show you a bigger picture. I'll enlarge this picture in a moment, okay? But I have this picture here, and I would like you to look at this picture and then talk about these questions with someone at home with you. In fact, if you can have a sibling or a friend or somebody there with you, then you can talk to them about this, okay? So you're looking at this picture, and here we go. What was the temperature like when this photograph was taken? What time of day do you think it is? And how do you know in this picture? And what could the person's drink be described? I'm sorry, why could the person's drink be described as well-deserved? Okay, which means, why do you think this is a really well-earned drink that they're taking? And last but not least, what do you expect is in this person's backpack? Okay, so we have these 4 questions here, well, 5 questions that I want you to think about. And let me enlarge the picture so you have a better idea on what we're looking at here. Okay, so here we have this picture here, we have this person, and we, just by looking at this picture, we can make some conclusions. We can infer information just by looking at it, right? Okay, so first of all, the first question was, what was the temperature like when this photograph was taken? What do you think? I'll give you a second to try to answer to yourself. Do you think it was hot? I mean, the sun, did you see the sun there? Do you think it was cold? Do you think it was normal? What do you think? All right, and the next one is, what time of day do you think it is? And how do you know? All right, and why could the person's drink be described as well-deserved? Which means we don't know, it's kind of hard to see what they are drinking, but they're drinking something. And why would you think they're taking a drink at this moment? And what do you expect is in this person's backpack? Okay, so with these questions here, you can look at the picture and you can find the answers to this question. But the answer isn't directly there, right? I'm not asking you for what color is his jacket or what colors are his bag. What do you see in the picture? No, 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 no. In fact, what we are asking you and trying to figure out is the conclusions we can make, our understanding of this. Okay, so let's look at these questions in a little bit more detail, okay? So first of all, what was the temperature like when this photograph was taken? Well, the temperature must have been cold because the hiker has their hood up, right? They're wearing a jacket, they're wearing a big coat, so it must be cold. We can see that it's not raining, therefore it must be cold. What time of day do you think it is, and how do you know? Oops. All right, I think that it is late evening because the sun is setting on the horizon. It can't be sunrise because the hiker wouldn't have walked up the mountain in the middle of the night. Well, actually, I kind of disagree with this one because I have hiked up a mountain in the middle of the night to get up to the top so I can see the sunrise. So actually, we can decide, we can make a conclusion that it is probably late evening for sunset, or it could be sunrise, right? Why could the person's drink be described as well-deserved? Well, the drink could be described this way because it must have taken a lot of effort to climb the tall mountain. They reach the top, and they can have a nice drink to celebrate their victory of conquering the mountain, yeah? And what do you expect is in this person's backpack? Well, obviously, supplies, right? The items that they need to be able to climb to the top. It could be some gear, it could be clothes, some food, could be a number of different things, of whatever they need, okay? So this is inferencing. This is what we're talking about here. The answer isn't directly straight in front of you. You need to rely on your previous knowledge, what you know, what you understand. Use that to make a conclusion. All right, so let's go to our next activity here. So I am going to show you a couple of sentences. I'm going to show you a paragraph, actually. And what I would like you to do is read it. And I'm going to pause so then you can read it to yourself. And then what I would like you to do while you are reading this is to draw what is being described. So you're going to need a piece of paper or a whiteboard, something. Draw what is being described in this paragraph. Okay, so if you need to get a piece of paper or a pencil, go ahead and pause and grab it now. I'll wait for you. Okay, all right, welcome back. Hopefully you have a piece of paper and a pencil and or a whiteboard. Okay, so let's show you this paragraph. Again, I want you to read the sentences and draw what is being described. Okay, here you go. Now, what I would like you to do on this one is push pause so then you can work on this in your own time. No rush, push pause, do the best you can do. Okay, go ahead, push pause. Alright, so I'm assuming that you pushed pause and that you worked on this. So let me read this passage to you and let's see what we can understand from it, okay? I need to get out my reading voice. Amidst the still blue ocean stood a tiny hunk of land. An island made solely from golden sand. Atop the mound of grit stood 3 palm trees. The trees stood in a row, with one in the center and one leaning out at either side towards the rippling water. At the base of the trees, some small shrubs battled for sunlight as white foamy waves lapped the small shore. The clouds on the horizon were the only thing interrupting the endless azure sky. Alright, so from what we can see in this passage is that we have quite an image going on here. We have lots of colors that are being described, right? We have blue, we have golden, we have sunlight as white, okay? Foamy waves lapped on the small shore, an azure sky. So there's lots of colors going on. Now probably you didn't get your colored pencils and that's okay. But what image do we have here? Did your picture look something like this? Okay, so just by reading something, we can create an image or a picture in our mind, okay? And when we pay attention to what we're reading, we'll be able to draw these inferences, okay? So hopefully you drew something like this. There may be some differences, and that's okay. And this is the challenge that we have when we're writing, when we're reading, is that we need to pay attention to the clues that are in there. Now, inferencing is also related to something called context clues, if you remember correctly. Context clues is when we are looking at vocabulary that we aren't too sure of. We look at the clues that surround that tricky word, and then we can guess the meaning of it. An educated guess. Well, inference just takes it to another level where not only are we looking at tricky vocabulary, but we're also looking at the whole passage together and what it is trying to tell us, right? Okay, so there's that one for you. Let's move on to the next activity. I'm going to jump a couple of activities and we'll look at this next bit here. So hold on one second. All right, so here we are. We are on activity number 4 now. And once again, I'm going to show you a passage, pause the video, read it, and draw what is being described. Let's see how you do. Okay, so here is the passage. Go. Make sure you push pause, go ahead and read it, and draw what you're reading. All right, welcome back. So, hopefully you had a chance to read through and try to draw it, and you took your time on it. Now let me read it to you, and let's see what kind of image you've come up with. The tall, slim model strutted down the catwalk with her hands on her hips, wearing a stern look of determination on her face. She modeled the latest designer gown. 2 thin shoulder straps, a triangular design, and a long, flowing sheer train. The lights from overhead created a spotted pattern on the catwalk, and the audience, darkened by the shadows, sat in rows at either side to gaze at the latest trends. All right, so we have a lot of important vocabulary in here. And one thing you may need to do here first is pay attention to the context clues here, right? We need to make sure that we are looking at each of these tricky words here, and we need to understand what they're trying to tell us. Okay, so first of all, the tall, slim model strutted down the catwalk. Now, the tricky words in this one probably are strutted and catwalk. Okay, and if you are paying attention here, the main word that can help us see what's going on is the term model. The tall, slim model. Now, usually when we have a model, we have this person who is doing something, and there's a lot of people taking pictures, right? And a model usually displays they could display jewelry, they could display clothes, the model could display lots of things. And you've probably heard the term supermodel as well, right? And now the model is modeling the latest designer gown. Okay, so she's wearing a gown, and then goes on to describe the gown. So even though there may be words we don't quite understand, we could pay attention to the key words here that can give us a clearer idea on what's going on. This is inferencing. This is what we need to do. Pay attention to the key words that are helping us to gain an understanding. All right, so let's look at this picture here, and let's see if it matches something similar to what you drew. Here we go. All right, so did you draw something like this? I hope you did. Okay, so in this activity you have looked at the passage, and then we have tried to draw inferences from that. All right, hopefully your picture matches. All right, so we're going to come back to me, and then we will wrap up this little video, okay?
All right, there you have it. That is all you need to know when it comes to inferencing. So now it's the time for you to pay attention to your worksheets. We've been assigning these inferencing worksheets, and I want you to look at the instruction page. That's going to give you a few more important details to help you get ready for those worksheets. And in general, when you're reading and when you are watching movies, pay attention to what you do when you draw these conclusions based on what you see or what you read. That's all about inference. All right, so there you go for now, and we will see you a little bit later. Bye.